Next up, guys, we've got two ladies with a huge Instagram following. We've got Gillian Robertson, only a fraction of the amount of followers as Polyana Viana. Polyana Viana, one of the more popular Instagram accounts on the card. Is that because we're fighting? You tell me. I would think that it's probably for other reasons, but when you look at both of these women, it's Gillian Robertson who has the better record in her odds range. Gillian Robertson as a favorite is 7-3 compared to just 2-3 for Polyana Viana as an underdog. And that's not a 2-3 that was profitable. It's an unprofitable 2-3. So the ROI for Polyana Viana minus 7.8% ROI as an underdog compared to 16.5% positive ROI for Gillian Robertson as a favorite. So when I'm looking at a matchup like this, I say to myself, man, you got two girls with some grappling chops, right? And I don't expect Polyana Viana's meme armbar to work on Gillian Robertson. But with that being said, Polyana Viana, I do believe, is the more dangerous striker of the pair. When you look at Gillian Robertson, she's never been a very comfortable or dangerous striker, and she tends to do a pretty decent job of hanging on. So let's refer to her record right now. She is 12-8 as a professional MMA fighter, 9-6 inside the UFC as a promotion, and she's 9-1 career to the submission, but just 1-1 career to the TKO. And she is actually 2-6 career to the decision. So a terrible decision record for a women's MMA fighter, especially a primary grappler at that. Really surprising. When you look at the Polyana Viana side, on the other hand, she's 5-0 career to the knockout. She's 8-2 career to the submission, but she has never in her career won a decision. So despite having just 2 wins via decision, she is the much more prolific winner via decision is Gillian Robertson. So fascinating fight here. And the other difference between these two women is 15 fights in the UFC for Gillian Robertson, and she is 9-6 in those fights. Positive record. 4-5 for Polyana Viana, negative record inside the organization. And frankly, I think that when you look at how the UFC has match made Polyana Viana recently, I think it speaks to the fact that they've been unhappy with her asking for the cosplay stuff, the hypersexual Instagram. I'm sure they're cool with all that to an extent, but I also think that, if there's other problems, if you're pulling out of fights, things like that, Polyana Viana did withdraw from a bout that was scheduled with Emily Ducati for 5/20, so May 20th this year, or last year, excuse me. And when you look at that, they then rebooked her with Yasmin Lucindo. And Yasmin Lucindo, guys, is a problem, right? I think she's one of the better prospects in the division, especially among the youth. She's very young, but she's got a lot of MMA experience. She's been putting in time on the mats. She also has a striking background. So Lucindo is a real problem. And Lucinda was able to go out there and beat her up. She knocked out Jin Frey in the first round, but Jin Frey is a much older fighter, really struggled in her UFC run. Tabitha Ricci was able to go out there and just take her down and stand over her, and she was so inactive in that fight. It was one of the easiest bets I've ever cashed. Tabitha Ricci minus 120, I think it was, and she just stood over her throwing kicks to the thigh, and it was an easy money decision victory. And I'm sure most people were booing because it was a terrible fight, but it was a great, easy win for Tabitha Ricci, and I was very happy with that bet. But otherwise, Polyana Viana beat Mallory Martin, Emily Whitmire, Maya Kunaheli in the UFC. I mean, who are these people in some regard? And Mallory Martin and Emily Whitmire, I know who they are, and they're not very good fighters. No disrespect, but just girls that were not able to keep their jobs in the UFC because they were not of the level, right? It was for health and safety reasons. So no disrespect there, but two girls that both had a really tough time, and you look at the losses she had. Veronica Hardy, before she was Veronica Hardy, was able to go out there and submit her via armbar in the first round. Hannah Cyphers was able to beat her, and Hannah Cyphers pretty undersized girl without that much upside. JJ Aldrich was able to go out there and beat her. And JJ Aldrich is a girl that has fumbled the bag a couple times in big favorite positions. So all these things being said, I just think this is a spot where Gillian Robertson, the Canadian, who's trained at Goat Shed, who's trained under Dean Thomas, been one of his personal, projects over the years, who's been a UFC lifer basically, who's got more experience in the organization, and who actually has decision wins under her belt. I think Gillian Robertson is probably going to go out here and get the job done. When you look at what Dixon has to say about this fight, he says Polyana Viana feels like she has the type of IQ to engage Gillian in the grappling because of her Brazilian bravado. Brazilians can't be afraid to engage in BJJ. As you know, Polyana, here's a paycheck. Liam. Yeah, I tend to agree, man. I think that Polyana Viana can get wins over lower level girls. I do think her best chance to win this fight is by knockout. I think that Polyana Viana has some power in her hands. She's kind of got bigger hands for a woman, and she wants to go out there and throw. So I think that this is an interesting spot. I got to do the tape because the tape is normally what's most revelatory and how some of the grappling situations are going to play out. But the other thing is, one girl's been profitable in this odds range, the other girl hasn't. So for me, it feels like a Gillian Robertson or pass type of fight. But I understand why people, like that violent girl in Polyana Viana with the huge social following at plus money. Listen, I can't fault you there, but for me, it's a Gillian Robertson spot, and I think she might even get the job done inside the distance here.